So you can strengthen synapses, but can you grow new ones?
Actually, that is a very good question. I do not know the answer to that. That would be a very good thing to research for both of us, I guess. Yes.
Point where it can't, you can't remember anymore. What is that called?
Saturation.
If you are at full capacity, would you have to theoretically bump out old memories to make room for new memories?
I guess you would.
Maybe they get bumped out. I don't know whether it's to make new memories or not, but by the time you're 50, you've forgotten a heck of a lot.
Experts do not believe one specific portion of the brain controls the encoding, storing, and recalling memories. The hippocampus is still believed to play a definite role. Along with the frontal cortex, the hippocampus evaluates every sensory experience a person has as they're having it, deciding, if you will, if it is important enough to encode it. And encoding is just storing it for future use, for future remembrance. Not all the information a person receives is encoded. A person most likely has to have paid some amount of attention to information for the brain to even think to encode it. For instance, the tree in your peripheral vision as you walk down the street will hardly be marked as important, whereas your brain might encode, say, a cat dead on the sidewalk as you're walking to school. Though it is not known when the brain decides the significance of something it has perceived, we do know that the way in which a person perceives the information plays an important role as to how much of what is perceived is encoded, stored, and remembered. This concept actually plays a good part in the concept of multiple varying learning styles, which asserts that different people successfully retain information through different means. For two students learning calculus, let's say, one might find it easier to actually write out the problems, and another student might, say, enjoy the visual stimulus, actually seeing someone else do the problem. These are all different learning styles, and these show that multiple people have different ways of encoding their memories. Doing an activity that focuses on perceiving and storing stimuli. My purpose is to find Waldo, obviously, so look for Waldo. Also, be aware of what's around him because I'm going to ask you what you saw. But, purpose number one, find Waldo, obviously.
It's not him.
Already found him.
Yeah, I don't like when there's other people who start.
Oh, I found him.
Has everyone successfully found Waldo?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So, other than Waldo, what did we see? So, did anyone see this guy carrying meat on a plate? No. Did anyone see this guy over here? Let's see.
Yes.
I like this guy crushing the meat with his axe. Did anyone see that, or was that in the corner? But the main purpose was find Waldo. So it seems like a lot of you guys did find things in the Waldo area, and we're rather focused on finding that stimuli and weren't really being open to all of the stimuli, and this is a lot. So our brains can't really handle all this. We pick and choose which stimuli to really perceive. Short-term memory was what we were discussing with Waldo. Now we're moving into long-term memory. What happens, or how do we have a long-term memory? How will we remember Waldo forever? Contrary to the belief that the hippocampus just plays a main role in the early stages of memory storage, while the cortex plays a role later on, the cortex may provide an important service in the early stages as well. Research suggests during an experience that synapses, or neuron connections, of the cortex are tagged, instructed if you will, to mark that they will later receive data. This means not only that throughout the memory storage process the cortex is more important than previously considered, but also that the process of memory encoding is not just limited to one space in the brain, for synapses can be anywhere in the cortex and still be understood as receivers of a future memory. So the cortex tagging things makes the memories long-term. On the workings of the cortex were performed on rats. Memories were tested through their sense of smell. With their cortexes incapacitated, Rats were found to remember smell for days afterwards, but not for weeks. Thus, the cortex was assessed to play a pivotal role in long-term memory. What is chosen to be tagged and what is not? It takes time for experiences to become long-term memories. During this time, there is much that can interfere with the process. Though short-term recall or short-term memories do not require protein synthesis, like CAM-keep, the synaptic changes that are required to make or strengthen permanent memories entail the production of protein and RNA. Injury, disease, or even competing stimuli can affect the production of long-term memories. So you have a lot of competing stimuli. What can be very helpful, what can aid and strengthen the process is sleep. So, how much sleep do you get on average? Do you find any correlation between the amount of sleep you get and your ability to recall, say, information that you were studying for an upcoming test? Partner, briefly, about your sleep and how you feel it affects your memory.
Like 6
Probably 6, 7. Yeah, I think like 7 too. But I feel like do better if I like study for a test like right before bed. Like studying like a couple of days or like a day before works out a lot better than like cramming it in like 10 minutes before.
Not all night, like whatever. I don't actually remember anything. So sleeping on it does actually.
I feel like they have examined their sleep versus their ability to recall things. Studies performed on rats have examined the importance of sleep for protein synthesis. In rats that have been exposed to new or newly altered environments, the gene expression responsible for the synthesis of protein seems to increase during sleep. During successive sleep, as well, the rat's hippocampal neurons review again and again the actions or activities performed by the rats as they experience the new environment. Thus, sleep may not only enhance or even complete the process of permanent memory storage, it might also continue and further learning, strengthening the synapses between neurons by increasing sensation. Studies relating sleep to memory retention have also been performed on adults, reporting that those who have had a full night of sleep have better memories for the connections between pairs of words. Deficiency of sleep also proves to have a large effect on memory retention. Sleep deprivation can cause the hippocampus to not function properly during the formation of memories, which results in poor memory retention. So sleep is vital to memory storage. Now we find ourselves back at the beginning. So here are some things to think about, and if you wouldn't mind writing them down on the piece of papers that I gave out to you. What is memory? Neurons, synapses, hippocampus, frontal cortex. How are full events stored as memories? And by this, I really am just asking for the trampoline scenario, that many aspects are involved in one memory, even though it's experienced as a full event. What is CAMA? How are short-term and long-term memories different? And how is sleep beneficial? Well, using these, I would like you to kind of do a rough flowchart, a rough interpretation of your understanding of the basics of memory encoding. I would like to thank you very much for listening to my presentation and being such a great audience, so thank you. Yay.